Hey y'all, so earlier today, among, the world-ending news that was happening, Buckshot Roulette released its multiplayer beta that you can sign up for right now. The link is right here. I'm not doing it, I don't have time, but if that's something you're interested in, you can do it, and they probably need the volunteers. But because of that, it is now algorithmically optimal time for me to tell you about my algorithm. Now, I've been trying to since my last video trying to implement some reinforcement learning type stuff and have some fun with it, but reinforcement learning turns out pretty hard. But I do have an algorithm that is pretty decent at buckshot in the after new updates and all that. It's not even close to the win percentages we were seeing before, and that's just because the game fundamentally got a whole lot more complex. The inverter, the adrenaline, these are the things that really, made the game so much more complicated. But because this algorithm works well enough, I want to give you a little insight into how you can buckshot like a computer. And a lot of it is actually just game sense. A lot of it is actually logic that you can apply. It's not just, oh, this thing did like 500 trillion calculations. No, this is stuff you can actually think about. Um, so this is kind of, what our update looks like. Now let's move on in my little PowerPoint here. So how this algorithm works is kind of in so there's like four different ways you can approach this, and actually there's more, but these are the ways I've listed here, right? You can take a random choice, you can do heuristic search, reinforcement learning. One day I will get this working, and then the restricted search, which is a heuristic search, strictly speaking, but we are giving it a lot of hard rules, like in this specific situation, do this, right? And that makes our search space a lot more constricted, and generally makes the algorithm fast enough that I can run it for 10 million games and not, die. So couple of stages here to how we can approach any given turn. Can we deny the dealer a one-round kill? Then you have to, count your bullets, understand how many bullets on the shotgun at any given moment and how that works in your favor or disadvantage. So generally, good ideas. Again, these hard rules basically, they're there for a reason. And then at the end of the day, you have to do your own thinking. There's no, hard rules that are going to 100% cover this game because it is a game of chance, of probabilities. And at the end of the day, there's an RNG in your CPU that will completely throw any plans you have out the window. So this is what I'm calling criticality. This is, hey, can I, in this turn, stop the dealer from ending the game right now? Because that is ultimately your prerogative. If the game ends in this turn, or really the next turn, whatever plan you have doesn't matter. So, if the dealer is able to kill you, the first priority always is to stop that, is to remove that possibility within what you can, right? So, this is why in the previous iteration of the game, the dealer would always just use the handcuffs because restricting the opponent gives you a free turn and makes sure after whatever you do now, you will live to see the next turn, right? Even if that is immediately after. The next thing is to try to take a key item from it. So if you have 2 lives, you know that there's going to be 1 bullet in the chamber after you're done with everything you're doing, and you know the opponent has a saw, you should try to take the opponent's saw, even if it does nothing for you in this turn. That prevents the opponent from getting back at you, right? And just ending the game when the bullet ends up in his court. A couple other things like magnifying glass, that's a very easy way to die because ultimately this is a game of information. That is the most powerful tool you have. And if the dealer gets a magnifying glass, it can start calculating out the rest of the shotgun. And literally, I've gone through the code. That's exactly what happens. It's not that advanced of an algorithm as I'm implying, but it is based on the information that it has, it will figure out what's in a shotgun if it is able to. Um, these are just a couple examples, but the general idea here is if the opponent is able to kill me, I need to do whatever is in my power to prevent that possibility before I think about trying to harm the opponent. So, defense before offense. Ultimately, if the game goes on forever, you can still always double or nothing. But if the game ends, no matter how long your streak is, you're cooked. You're done. So, how do we count our bullets? So this is, some shotgun. It could be any arrangements. This is a very orderly arrangement I've set up here, but it can be anything. And what we can establish here is a knowledge map. For each bullet in the chamber, let's say there's 8. And we know that anytime the shotgun is reloaded, the amount of live bullets is going to be half of the total amount of bullets, rounded down. If it's 8 bullets, we don't know where any of them are, right? So this is our knowledge map. So let's say there's 4, we know that there are 2 live bullets in here. Our next step is, let's say we use our magnifying glass. Now we know something here, okay? Now we know there's 2 live bullets, and one of them is right here. So every other unknown bullet is not a 1/2 chance, but rather it is a 1/3 chance of being live. This might sound obvious when I say it, but it's a very important thing to keep track of in your head, because it's very easy to get lost here. Um, so, now we're gonna fire it, because hey, live round, let's go. And we'll assume for the immediate moments that, the opponent's already cuffed, we have 2 turns or whatever. It doesn't really matter in this case. We're just talking about how our knowledge changes as the game progresses. So, we'll use the burner phone, and hey, would you look at that? Another live round. Now we know. First of all, when you shot this bullet, now it's 1 live bullet and 3 total bullets. Now we know that this bullet is here. That means the other 2, among the pool of unknown bullets, there are 0 live bullets, which means that all of them are blank. So now, just like that, and this is almost exactly what the dealer AI already does, and you can implement this yourself pretty easily. You just have to, keep track of things. You have calculated out the entire bullets. You can exactly figure out the move order that will optimize your damage output. Right? So what I might say here is, okay, inverter, handcuffs, saw, fire once, fire off the second one. There's 3 points of damage right there. Right? Then obviously it's a very ideal case, but my point is just, if you have all this knowledge, you can figure out exactly your best set of moves. So our last step here is just some general, situational advice. I'm not covering all the cases here, right? I think we all, if you're watching this video, know that, hey, if I have cigarettes and I'm down on lives, use them immediately. But some other things that maybe are less obvious. With the burner phone, this has a lot of power in low bullet count scenarios. Like here, you saw we got 1 bullet and we were able to figure out the entire shotgun. It's just like that. And obviously, this is a very cherry picked example, but my point is, if you have, let's say, 3 bullets left in a chamber, you can map out in your head your plan if it tells you the information on any given bullet, right? Um, on the other hand, if you were to use that at the start of the game, you might get some value out of it, but the risk there is that the bullet that you know about might end up in the dealer's hands, and then I guess it helps you prepare, but realistically, it doesn't do a whole lot for you. Now, if you had like a model of what the dealer acts like in your head, then you may be able to figure out, okay, this bullet is going to be blank. I know that the dealer doesn't know that, so it may try to shoot it. So given that, I'm going to allow this to happen. But listen, I can't think of that. I don't think most people will. If you can, then what are you doing listening to this video? Go get like a 10 million run. Okay, so beer. The interesting thing with beer is that it allows you to basically skip over the parts of the bullet that you don't know about. So if I know, let's say our 3rd bullet is live, sure, I may be missing opportunities by just skipping all the way until the 3rd bullet, but I am guaranteeing something. And in a game of chance, guarantees are priceless, literally. So my recommendation for the beer is always try to stack a bunch of them. And then when you have some amounts of information, usually with a burner phone, go ahead and skip right to the parts that you know about. If you're going to go start, trying to figure out these bullets that you have no idea about and you have no way of understanding, you're going to start shedding lives just because chance, things happen. It is what it is. So as much as you can guarantee, you should, because if it goes into the next load or whatever, realistically, it's not going to change much. Now, inverter, this is a pretty, I think, simple thing, whereas if you know it's blank, use it. But something you have to consider is that if you don't know the current shell, it's gonna mess with your bullet counting. Because now, let's say we're here, and I flip this one. Now I don't know, are there 3 live bullets, or is there one? And obviously in this case, it would be 1 live bullet left after inverting, because this is live. But I don't know that at this stage. So it's gonna mess with your counting a lot. And you basically have to now have 2 knowledge maps in your head of whether this was this flip to a live or flip to a blank. Another thing to consider is that the inverter is very powerful in the dealer's hands because it makes it much harder to predict what's going to happen. Because a dealer does not care. It'll just go ahead and do that, what I just described. And then your bullet count's gonna be all messed up, and it's a whole mess. If the dealer has it, I would recommend trying to prevent him from using it if you can. And that's basically all of it. I could obviously go into the very minutia of the algorithm, all the idiosyncrasies of it, but really, that's not what's going to help you actually play the game, is it? So this is what I've got. This is kind of a simplified overview of how the algorithm right now is working, and I hope that this is helpful for you, either if you're doing the beta or if you are now watching this in the future and full multiplayer has released. Now, of course, there's a problem here. If we looked at the Steam trailer for it, there are 4 players, so a lot of this is gonna basically have a wrench thrown in the works. But I think the principles should more or less apply. It's just gonna be I don't even know how to wrap my brain around 4 players for this, but it's gonna be interesting. That's what matters, and it's gonna be fun. Anyway, if you like what you saw, leave a like. If you don't, don't. And yeah, I'll see you.